Thank you so much for coming, Jamz. Like it's an honor to have you, especially as our first guest, because I know Helena and I have been watching your transition to motherhood very closely on Instagram, and we've been texting. I remember actually when you were in labor, I think I texted you and I was like, how are you going?
It's happening now. Yeah. You've been my nice confidant, actually. We've been like, we WhatsApp and we message, and kind of our little ones are like a month apart. So we've kind of literally been kind of moving through it all at the same time. So it's been really nice to have like this WhatsApp relationship with you where you're like, talking about gigs, talking about touring, talking about nursery, talking about their development, what they're up to. So it's been lovely. And it's an honour to be part of this conversation, because I think it's really important. And Helena, like, you being pregnant, we were just saying off air, like you being pregnant makes me look so good. You're making me miss my bum. I'm so excited for what's to come for you. Like, I want another baby, but I don't want another baby.
I hear you. Well, look, honestly, it's so amazing to be able to speak to people like yourself who have gone through it already. And this is what me and Sam were talking about the last time we spoke. There's not many of us really who are so visible, I guess, or open with their journeys in motherhood. So it's really special for me going into this next phase in my life to be able to see and speak to people like you and Sam. And I was saying that when I first got pregnant, one of the big things for me was, what is my career going to look like and how is it going to turn out? So being able to see you smashing it and Sam smashing it has been so helpful. And actually, it's probably a really good place to start in terms of when you became pregnant. Was there anyone that you looked to or wanted to ask advice from as you're going through this?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd probably say Annie Mac was a good one, because I'd known her personally away from work as well, and Toddler very well. So I kind of had seen a little bit into their dynamic and how they'd made it work over the years. So I definitely knew that she would be someone that I wanted to talk to. Even, in terms of like the physical side of things, my mom was very, very close to me, and my aunt and my cousin who'd just been pregnant. So the women around me, and kind of keeping that circle tight. I'm trying to think sort of other ways outside of the, like, in a more career sense. No, I think they were the ones, I think. Yeah. And it was such a different time because it was the pandemic. So I was able to hide it for quite a lot longer. Because it was 2021, so I was doing Zooms and things like that, and I only started coming out in the summer. So it was a bit of easier to hide and not really have to address, and I could sleep and nap and not have to think about being so being visibly tired.
But you did end up, you were playing pregnant, right, in the summer? Yeah. How did you find that? Like, were promoters very like accommodating, and like, did you have like some special needs that you, like, I don't know. We were talking about it last time, like fans to blow away the smoke.
That's a good one.
I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know, were there any things that you can think of that?
I DJ'd up until about eight and a half months. So I went all the way up, and for me it was like a chair, a chair afterwards. Yeah,
good.
To sit down, or like a seated area. Like I remember playing, for Nabaya Garcia for her Brixton gig, and I remember saying, look, after I really want to watch the show, but I'm gonna need to sit down. So they had me like in VIP, with a nice seat. So that was really helpful.
I was there in the crowd. Loved
and
it.
me and my mom, we were all sitting there, drinking. Well, not drinking, but drinking like a soda or whatever. And then a lot of the times I was in and out with those gigs as well because of the pandemic and because of the sort of COVID. So I remember sort of doing Warehouse Project and probably going in 10 minutes before the set and leaving 10 minutes after the set, and literally going, being in and out and being escorted, in and out very, very quickly. So I definitely felt supported in my gigs and with people, and my management as well. What I would say was they were really good at being like, working out the driver situation, making sure I had a driver to get me there and get me back, and that kind of support also still continues to this day. Like, what time am I going to need to get home so I can wake up with Forrest? When I was breastfeeding, is there going to be a back room for me to be able to pump? So there's all these like the logistics that were sort of taken care of from my team and the bookers as well. So that was really helpful.
That's great. So what does your team look like? So you've got management, you've got booking agent, and are they all kind of working together very closely to make sure that because now that you travel with Forrest, and do you travel with your partner as well?
Yeah, sometimes. Definitely last year, the first year we travelled together, like pretty much all of the gigs that were away, because I was breastfeeding and just because, So I think I made like zero profit last year. Like literally, the bottom line was bottom. But it was such a great year, in terms of like all the experiences that we had together. And I think it kind of really made her this kind of, she's such like a magpie and she's into everything and into everyone, and she's not like fearful of anything. And I think, 2 months old, she was at a festival in Dubai.
2 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's been out and about, but so the management, I've got management, I have a booking agent, but normally once the bookings come in and we've confirmed them, and then they get advanced with management, and that's where those conversations would kind of happen. And I mean, you do get kind of booking agents like asking, are you how comfortable are you to be away for a long time, or what's your sort of limit? So when they're routing and doing touring and stuff like that, they can kind of have that in mind, that maybe a 3-week route to to do Australia tour and then go to Asia is not something that I can really do right now on my own. Yeah.
And how was your transition back into DJing? So you said 2 months after you gave birth, you were in Dubai.
Wow.
Was that like a regular thing, or was it kind of you were choosing big moments and big shows to go back to?
I kind of just got straight back in, to be honest. I just didn't want to miss a moment. But I mean, I don't remember them being that good gigs, though. I think at least the first 3 or 4, I just felt off. I just felt like I just didn't really know what I was playing. If it was a bad gig, then I'd feel bad because I was away. Sometimes if they weren't there, like I remember having a gig in Leeds and like pumping in this like sticky room at the back, and it just being a bit grim. And then like the gig itself just wasn't really like, it was fine, but it wasn't like the gig, And then I was thinking, I left my baby for this. What am I doing? Why am I so fast? Why can't I just chill and like relax myself and not want to always be out there? But and then they start to, because it's like you've got to find yourself again. I don't know, Sam, maybe you can talk a little bit up on this as well. It's one thing to get out there physically. It's another thing mentally, and it's another thing to know who you are as this new person, in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still figuring all that out, but that's why I had to like take time out, because I went back, I think it was 3 months postpartum, and that was too soon. I think we spoke about this last talk, Helena. But I don't know. I wish I took a bit more time for myself to sort of figure out who I wanted to be as an artist and what my limits were, and instead of just like throwing myself in there. But that's why I look to you with such, admiration, because, you just kept going. As you say, you had those moments where you're like, what am I doing? But you kept going, and look at you now, like you're absolutely thriving. Your daughter is thriving, your family is thriving. And I don't know, am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean,
you seem to be thriving.
I guess it's, I don't know. I wouldn't always use the word thriving, because sometimes I feel like everything's about to implode at any given time.
I know.
Yeah,
this.
so I kind of feel like I'm always in a state of like fight or flight, and I think that's something that I would like to work on. As to like even this morning, like before, like in between waking up and breakfast and the dog, like it's been like running around the house. So I feel like and that's just the state that I'm always in. But it definitely took me. I feel like I am myself again now in some ways, or my new self, my new version of the self, which I'm comfortable with. But it always ebbs and flows, and I think for me the main thing is just trying to be present, and actually having a small one makes you so present. Like you have to be in the moment. And you can't really think too far ahead or too far back. You can't dwell. If I have a bad gig and it's Monday now, I just got to keep it moving. I can't really sit there and ponder on it. It's happened. It's gone. It's done. I need to be here.
I totally agree. Because like I find that kind of a blessing in a way.
Yeah.
Like that's the gift of children. Like they just keep you so present, and you don't get into this like hole of like dark thoughts.
Yeah. You get snapped out of it.
You just like, okay, breakfast time.
Yeah. And I think it's different for, different people in terms of when you go back. Like I always thought like maybe when I have my second, maybe I will take longer off, and I really want to kind of like work as hard as I can in these next maybe 4 years is my master plan. Work really hard for the next 4 years so I can be like, I'm taking a year off. Bye, bitches,
Yeah.
Or 6 months at least,
Yeah. Yeah, Helena's
I guess you've got
planning
to
go back.
I know.
What are you thinking, Helena?
Oh, I think I'm going to go back. So I give birth in October, and I think I'm going to go back February, March.
Nice.
Have a little bit of a winter hibernation.
Yeah.
But see how I feel. I feel like it's really interesting hearing you say, like, I just wanted to get back to it. And I think one thing I keep on saying is like, that is kind of the joy of what we do, is that it is so flexible, and there is, opportunity to, to go back and do a 9 to 5.
Yes, one night.
I want to do a radio one night. I want to do a radio show. I could do it from my living room. Do you know what I mean? And actually, that's something I was going to ask you as well about radio. When did you go back to radio after giving birth?
So because my 6th show was quite new then, I'd only got given, I actually kind of got, when they announced the show, I was already pregnant, but they didn't know. So when they announced it in the April, I was already pregnant. And I was just kind of like, the universe works in mysterious ways. Like, what are we going to do?
Yes.
And you can always like plan, but I hadn't planned that the 6th show would come. I wasn't something that I was aware was going to come in that time frame. So what I did, so I'm very precious about my radio show, and what I did, I was like, first year I don't want nobody covering for the first, for the first year of it. So I basically pre-recorded the whole of December.
No.
And, we did whole of December pre-recorded. Wow. Then I was like, look, you better take January off. That you can't pre-record, January as well, like take some time off. So I think Afro Deutsche had started covering me, and she'd had a show already, so it was kind of more about like her being introduced across the network. So because it's a sensitive time, and I've spoken to this to other mothers like that have done radio and things like that. Like everybody wants your maternity cover. And like people are hitting you up from like before you've even thought about it, like, can I cover you when you're off? Can I cover when you
Wow.
Really?
And it's such a like, you already feel like a bit nervous anyway, because you have to be off, but you also shouldn't feel bad about it because you're off for your baby. So like, you're a bit torn. And then there's just kind of like the imposter syndrome, like what if they're better? What if I never make it back? That sort of thing. So I think like I remember One Extra were like, we're just going to get an artist to cover because we know how it can feel. And there's been like, men that have covered women that have gone off to be pregnant in the past and maybe haven't been like as sensitive around it. They're like, new show, new me, here's the line of all the DJs that have done this slot, and then here's me. And it's like, dude, you're just covering it for 3 months. It's not your show. So,
relax.
So it's an interesting one. So I'd pre-recorded the whole December and did loads of Christmas specials, and then January I took off, and then I went back in February. But 6, what was really good about 6 was they're mostly older women that kind of at the top at 6, which is great. Yeah. So they've had their baby, so I was able to bring Forrest in every Saturday with my mum.
Wow.
And then I just breastfeed in the news.
Wow.
That's really special to be able to hear that and to kind of feel supported in that way. Because it's a very vulnerable time.
Vulnerable,
and when you were saying that about feeling protective of your show, I can totally get that, because you're already feeling vulnerable and in that protective mode. So something that is so personal, you want to make sure that, it's looked after and nurtured.
Yeah, definitely. And that I'm coming back.
Yeah. And when you came back, did you struggle with the like brain fog, the baby brain? Because that's something that I am already experiencing and nervous about.
Mine still hasn't gone away.
Oh, I get it all the time. Like I really have to. Yeah,
really?
I really have to create.
Oh, thank God!
I have to create the right environment for me to be able to work, and that is like silence. Somewhere silent, or go to the studio or go out the house. Now it's I still get the brain fog, but I definitely remember I think it was like for the whole first year, like I had no ideas.
Yes.
I was just like, I got nothing. And I was working with a really lovely producer, but he wasn't the most forthcoming with ideas himself. So I felt like I was just like, for that particular year of the show, like I feel like this year's been so much better because I'm like, yeah, I'm back through, you know, for the most part. But I really felt like I needed someone to brainstorm with. And I didn't have that, and I felt like I didn't have the energy to address it either. Yeah, like I just didn't have the energy. Yeah. I was just like, as long as we get on air.
Do you think?
Did you realise? It's probably like in hindsight when you look back, you're like, okay, I actually really needed someone to be there to be able to give me those ideas rather than being in the moment and being like, what's going on?
Literally, it was that. What are we doing this week? We'll do this. Okay, cool. I felt like I definitely felt like I was in it, and it was just kind of trying to do things that would bring it back. Maybe use the time to watch more documentaries or read more or listen more, you know, kind of being more of a lean back person instead rather than sort of leading. So I was just kind of trying to soak in as much information. But even like the first 6 months, I couldn't even read a book. Couldn't finish it. Couldn't finish a book.
But I guess there must be something like chemically that happens to us, you know, that your brain is so focused on like caregiving and like you said, the breastfeeding.
Keeping the baby alive.
Survival.
Yes. Alive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like that must be part of it. It's like your brain is just focused on like one thing and it's hard to think about other things.
It only lets through what it needs to.
Because I read a few interviews done by, Helena, I think you know about them, called Radiant Birth. It's like a birth immersion course that a friend of mine does in Australia, and she's interviewed quite a few mothers, and she often talks about this like surge of creativity that new mothers have. But when she asked me that question, I was like, I don't think I had that.
No.
Like, but it came later for me. It wasn't like in the first 6 months or even 12 months, but I think after 12 months, I felt like this surge of like creativity and like energy. And Jamz, did you feel like after a year that kind of changed for you, or when? Because you were just saying how you didn't really have any. You felt like you didn't have ideas, or.
I'm trying to think when it would have happened. Probably the latter half of the year, not half of the year, but like the September onwards. So she would have been about sort of 9 months, and then kind of get into the flow of things. And I think I was, I started like I had like a little tour to look forward to, and I was already sort of started to think about like next year and what I wanted to do. I think it was being able to see a bit further, definitely. So I did get it.
Yeah, because when you're in that early postpartum period, I feel like, as you were saying, Helena, it is just survival. Like, you just want to keep your baby alive and
yourself too.
And yourself,
Yeah, and I think it's so weird as well. It depends like what point you breastfeed to, you know, or if you breastfeed, but that definitely has your hormones take a lot longer. So I think I just did till the June. So I went up to 6 months, and I remember like it came to like a natural end, like just drying up being at Carla Festival, and that was the longest time I'd gone away for. So I left on the Saturday.
How long was it?
Left on the Saturday, came back on the Tuesday. So 4 days.
Wow. Yeah.
How was that? How was that experience?
I didn't feel like I think I struggled, if I'm honest. I definitely struggled and struggled a bit with I just didn't feel like, I feel like now I would put more things in place, more boundaries in place, maybe bring somebody with me or stay somewhere that's a little bit like, it was cute, but it was like I was staying in a room with bunk beds on my own, you know, and didn't know that many people out there like that, I think, as well. So I felt quite lonely, and then you're drying up. Like, for the first time I didn't need to pump, and then I just knew that I'd come back and she's like, she's not gonna want me anymore, you know. And then I got back, and I think I tried to offer, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, that's that then. Yeah.
Wow.
But it came to a natural end. It was the best thing for both of us. Yeah.
That mum guilt is so interesting though, because, you know, that's not going to happen. You're going to come back and you're so excited to see you. But I feel like from everyone I've spoken to who has children, they're like, mum guilt is really, really hard to work through and to cope with.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
I just get it. You know, I could cry in some certain times. You know, from the mum guilt. Like it's just, and it's irrational. It is irrational. They're fed, they're watered, they're fine. They're with a carer. They're with somebody that cares for them just as much as you do. They're happy. They're loved by so many different people. Like, you know, they have a roof over their head. They got food. You know, and it's more what you're projecting. I think the mum guilt is what you're projecting, and I've kind of realised that sometimes, like when I go away and come back, like she might be like a bit dismissive of me, and kind of, and then it hurts me. And I'm like, Forrest, like I'm here, hi. And then I realise if I come back and kind of be a little bit cool with it, like, hey baby, how you doing? And then go in the kitchen and and go in the kitchen and do something.
And she's like,
yeah. She's like, hi mommy, you know. So I just kind of need to not be like, please love me, because I feel like children pick up on that, and it's good that, like, with say my partner, like the only reason why I'm able to do what I do is because of my partner, my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother. Like they all step up to take care of her on the weekends and things like that. But you know, she's a daddy's girl, like through and through, like 100% daddy's girl. I go in the morning, I'd be like, Forrest. She's like, Daddy. I'm like, oh, come on.
No, it's the same
come
with
on,
me
kid.
and Jeannie. She's always like,
You know what though? I actually heard that is because there's a reason.
Please
for this.
tell me.
Go on.
Apparently, the reason is that children think they are a part of their mothers for like 2 years. So when they see you, you're like, well, we're one person. So like whatever, like, we're twins. You know what I mean? So when they see dad or whoever their other parent or whoever it is, they're like, oh my God, this person who's giving me everything. Mum, I already know.
Yeah, I was inside of her for 9 months. Like,
we're like this. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to there's this guy.
Because I Googled it, I was like, I was like Googling it late at night one, and I was like, why does she not love me anymore? Why does she always want her daddy? And basically they're like, it's because if a child, they're expressing their independence.
Yeah.
And if the reason why they feel they can is because they already feel so close to you.
Yeah.
They feel confident and secure within your relationship that they can express their independence. It shouldn't be that they're seeking the love from you, because then they wouldn't feel loved.
Right.
So they feel good. So that made me feel better, and your analogy makes me feel much better.
Exactly.
We are one, girl. You ain't escaping me. We are one.
Exactly. And also something which has been so exciting to watch with you is you traveling around with Forrest. And
seeing her at festivals.
In Colombia, in South America. I remember reading your post and you said, like, it's no joke traveling with a baby.
No, it's no
especially
joke.
somewhere like South America, and you're like, the healthcare and things like that were quite hard to navigate. So how did you navigate that, and how was that experience overall?
I mean, we went head first. I don't think we knew what we were signing up for. And had we have known, we might have thought it through. So we had a really good friend that kind of routed us a journey, and all the routing was through music and who we'd meet along the way. And for the most part, it was really great. It was like, you know, it was a very family friendly place, I will say that. But the one place that we went to right at the end, which was like the most expensive place, and the most like the way it looked was the most beautiful, was the most remote. And then the way we got there was by a small plane, like 7 people on a plane. Ooh. And then I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Oh my God, like what? We're going to be one of the people that end up on the news. Like, you know, I don't know, like I just get in paro. And then once you landed, you had to get a small boat that goes through the river out into the sea. And then you go over this big wave, and then you're on the shore, and then you're in. And It's like the most picturesque place. You've got the beach to yourself, you know, really beautiful, like kind of wooden thing that we slept in and stuff. But it was the place that we probably didn't feel the safest.
Right.
Of all the places. Not the safety wasn't there. It's just the remoteness. So one of the nights, Sam got ill one night, because I think it was like run by these young couple. They were sweet and all, but they were like, I wouldn't say that they were giving us normal water, and we didn't realise. Oh no. And we should have been not drinking that water at all. So Sam got ill one day, and then the next day, the next night, Forrest got ill, and she just, you know, she was vomiting, and then she was like kind of limp and like sweaty, and I was like, oh my God. But there's no doctors, there's no hospital nearby. The only hospital you'd have to get into the sea, back the route we came, basically.
In the plane?
On the plane to get to the nearest city.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
so I was
that
just
is
like
so stressful.
I was crying my eyes out and like praying. I'm not even religious, but like I was praying. And I was just like, and there was a big storm happening outside. So even if we wanted to leave, we couldn't have left. And to get out, you had to go up a big wave. There was like a wave. You have to basically crash into the wave to get through it. So I was just like, I just kept thinking about the wave, and I couldn't stop thinking about how we're going to get over that wave though. But how? So I was just, and then Sam was like, it's going to be fine. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Yeah. She was eventually sleeping by that point, and all I could do was just put headphones on and listen to like some music and lie there and cry to myself.
Yeah.
And then the morning came, she was back to her usual self, you know. She had a little poo on their bed, but, you know, I was like, you know what? they weren't the most accommodating people, so I was like, fuck it.
little thank you.
Yeah, little thank you. I was like, oh, she did have diarrhea on the bed, but, you know. And then we got through the wave and we got back and she was fine. So, but it was, it was, and that was the very last part of our leg, and everything had been so incredible and so amazing. She started walking out there. That's the first step she took, because walking, you know, she became like the Forrest that we know now. She went from being a baby to the Forrest that we know now. So it was the most incredible experience. Would I go somewhere that remote? No. Again. No. No.
That is an experience. But and it's one of these things which I feel like you don't know how it's going to go.
You don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And you should live, you know, we should. It's an experience that we will never forget that. Like I printed, you know, I didn't even print pictures, but I printed off our whole Colombia trip because it was, you know, really, really important for us to have that experience together, 3 weeks together. Because, you know, I'm working, Sam's working Monday to Thursday for the most part. She's with nanny, 10 till 6. That's a long time. So there needs to be, and I said it needs to be a ritual, like every year, that beginning of the year, we take 3 to 4 weeks where it's just us and we go somewhere.
Yeah. And where are you going to go next?
I think Mexico.
Oh, nice.
I haven't learned. I think you want to go Mexico or Brazil? That's the
beautiful.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. But also like different, you know, like Mexico, I feel like probably has a lot of places which are not as remote as that person went to.
Yeah. And Brazil, you know, I thought like, it's a very more sort of connected and congested as well. And even as well, I wanted to point out, like, you know, like what you see online, you know, in terms of like, you might see us like dancing with Forrest on our head and stuff. But like, sometimes there's experiences, like Sam had an experience the other day when we were at set. And all the nights before that, she'd been so good. She'd like, as soon as the DJs go on, she gets in her pram, she goes to bed. She's happy, she lies in her pram, she sleeps. And then the day that I was playing, we messed up one because we stayed at the hotel chilling, at the apartment chilling, because I wanted to do record boxing. So she didn't have that, like, she needs to run now. She needs to be stimulated. She needs to express energy. So we were just hanging around at the apartment all day. And she didn't really sleep. And then she didn't sleep till like 6 p.m, which is too late. But I thought, maybe that makes sense because we've got to be out till late. Get to the amphitheatre, which is where the evening bit takes place. She's running around enjoying the live music, chatting to people. And then normally she's meant to start going down now, you know, because it's like Hagen's playing. I'm playing after Hagen. She just would not sleep. She kept like lying down and being like, no. Like Sam was trying to walk her, and it's just like we're trying to get her down, and like the time's ticking because I need to go on now. And I think during that time, I'm not sure what happened, but I think Sam started drinking my tequila to try and like, I didn't know he was getting stressed.
His nerves.
But he didn't realise how much he drunk. So like I managed to get her down like 10 minutes before I went on, and then she'd gone down then. But then he suddenly felt drunk. And then he suddenly like had this prang, like, oh my God, I'm drunk. Oh my God, we shouldn't be here. We're bad parents. What are we doing? You know, it's too loud. You know, she keeps taking her headphones off. And so he just went to the back room and slept on the sofa, and, you know, till the end of my set, basically, with her. But was really, he was really, really upset, you know. And I think men as well, we have the mum guilt, but dads get dad guilt as well, especially when they, you know, we do get drunk. It happens, or you obviously try and be the most appropriate, or whatever the word is. But sometimes, you don't know your body in the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
And even for a guy, we don't drink as much anymore. We don't drink like that anymore. So for him, he didn't realize that he'd taken so much tequila, and before he knew it, he was like, maybe if there was no baby there, he would have been like in the moment. It's a different, he wouldn't have felt as drunk.
For sure.
He felt maybe a bit out of control, and he was like, I want to be in control in this situation.
Yes.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because they go through it too. They are there alongside if you have a partner like that as well. Probably aren't going to be out on the lash. Well, hopefully.
And then you put things in place. So we said, I had played at WOMAD the other day, and I was doing the closing set. So it was 12 till 1. And he was like, if I feel like I'm not feeling good during your set, I think I'm just going to go and sit in the car. Or, maybe I'll just go back to the hotel early, So we kind of like, if now we've got the things in place, you don't have to be side of stage with me DJing, what's best for Forrest in this situation.
Exactly. But it's so interesting you saying like, obviously what you see on Instagram is a small snippet, and that I've definitely been feeling that recently, and because people being like, oh, you're smashing it, you're pregnant, but I'm like, I'm actually horizontal most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get some horizontal selfies.
You should.
I should just post them of me horizontal. Actually, my partner Tom has a photo album of me from the first 12 weeks where I sleep.
That needs to be released to the public.
Do it. Time lapse.
Me like this every day. And like the past month, I haven't actually done that much. So doing big weekend, it's amazing, and it looks like I'm doing the most, but actually, it's a small snapshot.
It's condensed. Yeah, exactly.
It's a small snapshot of actually how it is, and like, but it is amazing to see you with Forrest on your shoulders at Glastonbury.
There's very precious moments. Yeah, they are very precious moments. She loves music, and I love that she loves music. So it's definitely definitely rewarding.
Yeah, I was so interested to ask you this. Like, what is she showing? Well, she is obviously, but I was going to ask if she's showing signs of interest in music, like her parents. Like,
yeah, definitely. She loves drums. So whenever there's someone playing the drum, she wants to go over. And she's got like every instrument. We've got like a little band going on.
No way! What?
We've got a drum kit. We've got wooden DJ set. We've got a triangle, obviously. 2 keyboards. And and even when we go in the studio, she goes in the studio with Sam sometimes and tinkers around. And I was DJing with her the other day, and now she'll come in if I'm DJing. She's like, "Mommy, I go now."
I remember you posting a video of you were DJing, and she was like riding the fader or something.
And it was like a year on. Yeah, she was on beat. It was a year on from when we did the mix-in when she was in the sling.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I felt like we need to show I might show the progression every year of her becoming better than me as a DJ.
And I love that she loves drums like her parents who love heavy percussion.
Yeah. I mean, it's mad what they like, what they soak in and what they take in. Like, and even jazz, she loves jazz. And then there was a band that we were watching the other day called Mad Mad Mad. They're like a trio. They're kind of, I would say, like a bit like Comet Is Coming, but a bit more post-punk influence. And it was just crazy, like they were just like, it's loud, it's crazy. And she was like running around like,
Do you guys constantly have music on in the house? Like, because you're so absorbed in music for your work and everything, is it just silence? Or because I'm always interested to hear from people in music.
We have speakers in every room.
Yeah,
I'd say it's 50-50. Like sometimes, because to me, like maybe listening to music, then I'm not giving her my full attention sometimes as well. So sometimes when we have because I'm listening. I don't know. I just feel I want to kind of So sometimes like from 6 o'clock onwards, we might not before her bedtime. But then recently I've started and she really likes it. Just putting music on my phone sometimes. So like when she's in the bath, I was playing some bath tunes, and then we get into the bedroom and like Cleo Soul is our album. Like we listen to it like Mother.
That album.
That album. Like from when she came home, that's all we listened to. So she knows the songs, she skips through it to the one she likes and things like that. So sometimes when I'm trying to bring her down, so after bath time, I want her to kind of like know that it's like chill time now. Then I'll put that album on and we'll just cream and do her hair or whatnot. So I think we communicate through music.
Yes,
that's what I would say.
That's beautiful.
That's special. That's special. Actually, if you're happy to share this, how was your birthing experience? Like, did you have music on and things like that? I feel like a lot of people, it goes out the window. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it all went out the window. I had and I shouldn't really tell you this, Helena, because you're not meant to tell people your birthing story before you give birth. But I feel like for the sake of this podcast, I will divulge.
I'm reading and watching so much, so don't worry.
Because they say you normally meet mom and you're like, yeah, it was cool. We'll talk later. We'll talk in a month, you know. But it wasn't bad, but it just everything went out the window. So we'd hypnobirthed, which I would really recommend that everybody do. Hypnobirthing is one of the best things, I think, that as a couple or as a partner, whoever your dynamic is, even as your mom or anyone that you consider, you know, a partner in this moment, they should do the hypnobirthing with you, because it really keeps you centered and grounded. So we did the hypnobirthing. Sam kind of knew what his role was, what he was there to do. We had the birthing plan, we had the candles, you know, we had the speaker, we had like like everything that we wanted, and then it just all started to fall to shit, to be honest. Like, basically, I was 2 weeks over,
right,
and they wanted to induce me. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2 weeks. I was like, and then they were like, we need to induce you. Yeah. And I was like, no. And they were like, we need to. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And then she kept being like, I really don't want to be induced. And she was like, I'm just going to give you the leaflet. And I was like, no, they just don't listen to you. They're like, you're being induced. And I knew that my waters had broken because I was sitting on the bed one day and then there was like water. And I knew they'd broken. So we went in that day, and that was like sort of on the Wednesday, I'd say, and she came on the Sunday. So we went in, and then they were like, no, I think you just peed yourself. I was like, no, I didn't. I definitely didn't. Like, I was sitting down. I hadn't had a bath. I had a shower. You know, they didn't believe me. So they sent me home. Then I went in for the 42-week sort of check, and they were like, so you're going to have to be. And then I started to show signs of being in labour. Yeah. Sort of just little things like the pink thing that comes, I don't know what it is.
The mucus. Plug. The plug?
Yeah.
The mucus plug.
Yeah, not quite the plug, but like maybe pink discharge or something like that. And then they were like, oh, but because now we think that your waters had broken earlier, but her head was blocking it, so now we're going to have to induce you because it's been over 48 hours and like risk of infection. So I was like, okay. So I was like, I had no choice.
I told you.
Yeah, literally. So I had to me and Sam we had to accept it, and we thought we were watching like hypnobirthing through being induced, and we went and hugged a tree. I don't know why. We were walking our dog. Yeah, I love that tree. I always see it. We went to our local park, walked our dog, hugged the tree.
And she's called Forest as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it gets better because let me get there. and then so the next day, we got to be induced, 7 a.m, wake up. But I'm already in labour now. Yeah. I'm just naturally in labour. So contractions are starting, we get there, and they're like, oh, okay, you are in labour, but there's no beds. So they were like, you're going to have to chill you need to chill in here, which is like the A&E for pregnant women, but your partner can't come in because of COVID.
Oh my God.
So and I just knew the hypnobirthing, and I just knew these bright fluorescent lights, these shitty chairs. I was like, there's no vibe here. And I literally said, there's no vibe. I'm leaving. I'm walking out. And so I went and hung out with Sam in the corridor for a little bit. I had my headphones on with the affirmations, and they're coming. The contractions are coming. Still no bed. So we're there from 7 a.m. Now it's midday. Now it's 1 p.m. And then Sam was like, should we just get a hotel? And I was like, yeah. Let's get a hotel. Yeah. Went and got a hotel. It was like 70 quid. Best 70 quid we ever spent.
Wow.
Literally Premier Inn.
Premier Inn.
Yeah. Watched Happy Gilmore. And then we're eating chocolate, and then they start speeding up now. We have got the dim lights, and now it starts speeding up. So I was like, then there's okay, there's actual blood now. Okay, cool, let's go back. We called them, they're like, yeah, come back now. Went back, and then Sam was like, because they wouldn't let him through past a certain point, which was really, frustrating because of the COVID stuff. And they only let him through once he was after I was dilated a certain amount.
He wasn't allowed in the room?
No, he wasn't allowed,
Crazy.
Yeah, so he was like, I'm going to go and get some food. Yeah. I was like, okay, cool, don't go too far. And then now I'm really in it, and I'm like, I didn't want to make any noise because some of the women in that A&E bit, they're not giving birth. Some of them are there because they're not feeling anything, or it could be any, they're not well, or they're, it could be any reason why they're in one of those cubicles. So I just didn't want to scare them. So I'm like, holding it down, and then something just told me to get in the prayer position. So I just got in the prayer position, and then my waters went. Oh. And I was like, this is what they mean when the waters break. Then I started screaming. I was like, help, somebody.
Oh my God.
Fuck these bitches. They got hit today. I was like literally like screaming my head off because it was like everything was happening. They got me in a wheelchair, took my clothes off, wheeling me through, and I'm like through the corridor. I was like,
oh my God.
Like all the breathing, everything's gone. I'm like, Sam, get back here. He just got back with the tie. Like
hypnobotus out the window.
It went out. No candles. No, nothing. And then we get in this room. Now they finally have a bed. Suddenly, they have a bed that's ready. So we're in this room. We've got one midwife. Sam's having to be like helping out, keeping the monitor on the belly, and like it's just the waves. Like it's happening. And then she was like, "Let's put some music on." We're like, "Yeah, great." She wants to put some music on. Then she slipped over a birthing ball. Which we actually forgot about that moment until about 3 days after the birth. We started cracking up. So she goes flying, arms in the air, like,
She actually like fully...
She flew full legs up, like that. Like someone goes like that. And I was like mid-contraction. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And she was like, I'm fine. I was like, okay. And then then Leanne La Havas is playing, and that was always Forrest's song. Like every time she heard that song, she'd punch.
Oh no way.
Like punch the belly. Even when we saw her live, she'd just give a little punch. So that song comes on now, and it's like the big crescendo. Oh. And then she just like, it just happens, and then she comes out, and she came out like looking at me like that, like with a. Oh, it's you. It's you. And she's eyes wide open as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she quite quiet when she came out as well?
She was quiet, yeah. She wasn't saying nothing. So she was looking at me, and then the woman wrapped her up, and she was like, "Congratulations, it's a boy." And we had thought we were having a boy because my bump was really high. We hadn't done the test before, so we were like, "Oh my God!"
Oh, you didn't know?
Knew it. Amazing. Orlando Nicholas is here. Incredible. So then we do 45 minutes skin to skin. He's all wrapped up, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm just going to weigh him." I was like, "Yeah, of course, no worries." And then she takes him. By this point, I'm getting stitched up now because it was a bit intense. Yeah. The ring of fire was ringing or firing. So I was getting stitched up, and that's the only time I started taking a bit of gas and air. So I didn't do anything.
You had
no time.
Vacation.
No
wow.
time.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
There's no time. So I was cracking up like. And then she was like, she took her to weigh him, and then she was like, "Oh my God." I was like, what? She's like, "It's a girl." So we had to text all our family and tell them that
actually a girl.
It's a girl, and actually her name's Forrest. Yeah.
Oh my God. How did they get confused with that?
The light was low. She'd obviously fallen over. She was concussed,
Yeah, she wasn't all there.
She wasn't all there. She couldn't see straight. Yeah. So it was definitely you won't forget it anyway, but it's funny. Yeah.
You don't write that on your birthing plan, really, do you?
No.
Tax it on.
Yeah, wrong sex for 45 minutes, for an hour.
Wow, that's that must be crazy, like thinking you have a boy, like you've given birth to a boy, and then you're like, no, it's not. What? Yeah,
and then you're kind of thinking, so who are you?
Yeah.
Like, do you not remember, Sam, like that moment when you're in the hospital and they're looking at you through the glass? Like you feel like they're looking into your soul. So when they're in the little thing, that little bed next to you.
We never had glass. That's the thing in Australia, but in Germany, I don't think they have those glass. But I know what you mean. Like
cots. Yeah, or just that early days when they're looking at you, like looking into your soul.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they're like literally like scan reading who you are, your good vibes, your bad vibes. Like,
wow. Oh, now I'm
excited.
That's so exciting.
You're gonna have so much. It is, as long as you and your partner are in it. Like anything that happens, you can't control. Like even the inducing. I didn't want to be induced. I really didn't want to be induced. But if I would have had to be induced, it is what it is. I mean, for you, Sam, as well. Was it more straightforward? What happened?
I mean, I was open to being induced. I actually kind of asked for it.
Yeah.
Because I was
You
reading.
over?
Sorry?
Were you late?
Oh, only by like 3 days, but I was just so over being pregnant. And I had read all these like really positive induction stories. I was like, maybe I could do this. So I was induced, and I labored on my own for like without Tom for like 12 hours, I think. And then in the bath just by myself in the hospital. No one was really coming in. I was just like, I was having the best time.
Yeah.
Was that because of COVID as well? How come?
Yeah, it's because of COVID. But he was allowed to come in. He came back to the hospital. This was in the middle of the night. Once I was in a different room. So once I was in active labor, he was allowed to come in. But yeah, it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They gave me the pessary. I labored. And I birthed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually really enjoyed it because I fucking hated being pregnant.
Yeah.
You had
a point where it's a lot on your body, and I feel like you go through different stages. Like I feel like, Helena, you're coming out of the sexy phase. Like there was that middle section. I felt so sexy. I was like, oh my God, look at me. I am so, And then the last 2 months, like I was just like a whale, crying, sore. I had to have physio because I was getting like my hips and my bum.
The hips.
And the hips. Oh my God, because your hips are moving.
Yeah.
Your hips are widening.
Preparing.
Yeah, preparing.
You have to sleep on them. You have to sleep on them. What kind of nonsense is that?
Even now, sometimes I think my body thinks I'm still pregnant when I go to turn over in the night.
Really?
You know, when you want to turn, you're like, like I think I've got like...
You click, I click when I turn. Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress disorder from sleeping pregnant. But Lauren Laverne said one thing to me actually is really good, because she's like, whilst there's more women in our generation that are visible, there was women before that were giving birth. I mean, I think it's one of the DJs on Radio 2, I want to say Zoe Ball's got 5 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know where, but she's definitely got like, she did it. So there were women before that did it and that had kids, but maybe it wasn't a time where they could be more visible and shout about it as it is kind of now. But I remember being late to be sitting for Marianne, and Lauren was, I think they just started to get annoyed at me because I was late every morning. And I think I just like got in the studio and started crying my eyes out. I was like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here. And then she sort of spoke through the intercom into the studio, and she was like, I know, babe. She was like, but you have to get to this point because otherwise you'd be pregnant forever.
Yeah.
Like you need to now want the baby to come out, because otherwise you'd just be happily pregnant.
That's it. Is that what it is? That probably that makes sense. You're like, right, let's get this done.
It's done now. Yeah, you've had your time. Rent's up.
It's really interesting though about what you were just saying then about women not feeling like they maybe could be visible, or it could be, because it is a huge part of your life. Like that is a fact. So becoming a parent is a massive part of your life. Why should we shelter that?
To be cool with the 18-year-olds.
Exactly. Like what? They should be cool with us being mothers and parents. Like that should be such a normal thing. Did you think about that when you were starting to share your journey? Was that something like deliberate, or was it you just being like, yeah, this is just part of my life?
I think it just, a bit of both, maybe I'd say. Like definitely wanting to be more visible with it, but knowing that I had no choice really, and I wouldn't have been comfortable like hiding that part of me. But also I think moving to Six Music made it a lot easier. Imagine if I just started on One Extra and then that had happened. One Extra is a youth station, but I think the transition, everything kind of moved in the right way, moving to Six at that time. Yeah. I felt like my audience were kind of moving to age appropriate with me, kind of growing with me, or not that far behind. So it felt like, because being on One Extra and being 30 felt like, people be like, oh my God, you're 30. Oh my God, you're so old. It's ridiculous. I think someone texted in saying, well, you shouldn't, I think I lost my bum bag, and I talked about it on air, and they were like, we shouldn't have a bum bag when you're 30, love. Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
Okay. Excuse you. Yeah, right. For bum bags, it's like festival ready, honey. Stuff it. So I think that helped, and then definitely, wanting to share and talk about it, because I felt like it would be able to be helpful for other women who were thinking about it as DJs as well. And I think women of colour, that was one thing as well. Like Bambi said to me, it's really nice to see you're a woman of colour and seeing it being done, because we haven't had that as much representation.
Yeah.
Maybe some of our white counterparts up to date.
In motherhood, especially, like, I feel like there's so many, like, I've been watching so many, like, podcasts and stuff of mothers or people who have given birth. And there's barely any which are from the perspective of Black women or brown women. And yeah, it's, I mean, there's so many of us,
Of course,
So-
we give birth to. Like, it's that, and definitely the books you read are very kind of, it's just, it's one perspective. So I think that
Very
was something that
Eurocentric.
urged me.
Yeah.
Very, yeah. So that was definitely something that that inspired me to kind of speak out, and but also to do it in a natural way. Like the other day I was talking to like a brand person, and we were just talking about like maybe joining their roster and things like that. But then she was like, the conversation didn't go the way that I thought it would, because she was like, I've been going through your Instagram. It's too cool. It's too music focused. Have you seen Candice Brathwaite? You should need to be more like that. Who I love Candice, by the way. Like I follow Candice. I love it. Like, but that she was like, I think the momfluencer scene right now is absolutely huge. There's so much money to be made, and especially as a Black mom, you be coining it in like. And I was just like, okay. And she was like, some more content. You, Forrest, and then let's talk in a year after you kind of do that. And I came off the call, and my manager was like, how do you feel about it? I was like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
Oh.
I was like, no thank you. I was like, I don't mind posting on my own terms and how I feel in a natural moment, but to orchestrate, for me personally, to post in a way like that would not feel like I was being my authentic self.
No. And to like use your child as like a commodity, and it's like
Yeah.
crazy.
No, I feel awful. Yeah, come on, Forrest, right, we're going to set up this shoot together. No.
Also, too music orientated. Hello, it's what I do.
That's,
I know.
that's kind of my career.
Yeah, and then I thought, I had to sort of think in my head, like, well, I just want, if it's boring for people to, and it's not as engaging for people to connect with me musically, then maybe they're not the people that should be following me.
I love your Instagram presence. I'm sorry to that person, whoever said that. You're wrong.
And I love yours as well. Like, you'll post something, and in yourself, Elena, like you'll post it because you want to post it, because you feel like posting it, not because you have to post it. That's the difference.
Exactly. But no, it's very, very helpful for me, honestly. Like, this is why I love this conversation, because I'm getting so much knowledge, and just it's just nice to
smash it,
speak about it freely, and to know that there's other people who have experienced it. Like you said, loads of women have, but we're just not maybe talking about it enough in like the underground music scene, or and it's nice to be able to do it, even though when I DJ, my feet hurt and stuff. But
that back pain. You got a bath after every set now, deep bath every night. But I'm so excited for you, like what's to come. And would you say, Sam, like, and I don't mean to get like wishy-washy, but I'm gonna get wishy-washy.
Get wishy-washy.
I feel like Forrest is the best achievement that I've ever had, if that makes sense. Like she trumps everything.
Like pre-Genie, you'd hear parents say that like it's the best thing ever, and you just don't feel that until you meet them, and you're like, oh my god, like. And just Helena, as we were talking last time about, like, we built these things in our bodies.
It's mad.
Absolutely insane.
It's amazing.
It's a great achievement, and well done to us. All three of us.
High five, Mama. High five, Mama.
High five to us.
Yeah. No, it really is, and also it's and one thing I remember actually asking, I remember sitting down with Annie, maybe on my maternity leave, working out how to get back to work and working out how to do that. And and Nao, I'd ask as well. I'd ask Nao because I did some interview of her. So I asked her, and both of them were kind of like, you really just got to lean in. Like, you can try and control like every aspect and try and control it all like that. the baby's going to lead and you're going to have to kind of follow, like in terms of like your life is kind of going to be so different, but don't try and fight it, like try and embrace it instead.
I think that's really wise. And I feel like that starts from conception. Like you have no control over how your pregnancy is going to look. And then over birth, like, and your postpartum period, like you don't know what your hormones are going to do. So you just kind of have to surrender and just be like, okay.
Surrender. Yeah. And be easy on yourself as well. Like you can, you can beat yourself up, and like little things like not going on social media in your maternity leave.
Yeah.
So you're not watching everybody like what you think everybody's doing. Like, and anyway, January's dead. Like no one ain't doing nothing, But those DJs that might be going to Australia, to Bali, whatever, like, and you're not going to feel like you're missing out because you're not missing out. You're here. Do something very special.
That's great advice. I'm taking that. I'm going to delete social media.
Delete it. Yeah, honestly, I think that was really helpful. I don't know what anybody else is doing. I'm just here with this family.
Present. Just present.
Present.
Love.
Yeah.
I think that's
beautiful.
A gorgeous place to end on.